Hello, welcome to Why Wait Till Sunday. This is Alfred here. I'm back with our friend Chris Moxley. We are going with running backs this time. We be sure and check out the 2024 episode where I meant to have this all as one episode, but we got so deep into the quarterbacks. We were just talking, and having a great time that you're gonna have to go and check that as its own episode. But we went through deep into all the quarterbacks and way more information than you're going to get scouting on 247 or Rivals. So definitely check that out. But this episode is on the running backs. And I think it's a nice class. I think there's some guys who are very exciting. I was tweeting today about Trevion Henderson, and he is the number one guy at the top. So we should just start it off there. Number one running back in the class. He's a 5-star going to Ohio State, which is like a running back factory. So you got to like all that stuff. I saw just excellent, burst, short acceleration in and out of cuts. I saw him just very sudden, making one step cuts and stringing together multiple moves basically on the same guy. He can just make some lightning moves and put more than one together in a series to get to be elusive. I thought he was just incredibly elusive. In the one-on-one in the open field, just forget it. I do think he has long speed. Very frequently was just pulling away from DBs. I saw cuts of like guys just freaking giving up once he got past them. They were just like jogging to the sideline. Like they knew there's no way they're going to catch him. One question I have is power. I'm not sure I saw it. It doesn't mean he doesn't have it at all. He's just so elusive. I mean, I feel like guys barely got a hand on him. And then finally, there were multiple clips of him lining up out wide and catching just bombs deep. So like, I think he's a very good receiver. Ball tracking ability, more than some other guys because he was full on running long receiver routes. Now he wasn't running like intricate, curls and things like that, timing and stuff, but he was beating guys deep and making big catches down the field. So it wasn't just swing passes. His comp on 247 is just not fair comp of Christian McCaffrey. No one should be comped to Christian McCaffrey, but I thought he was incredible. He smacked of Trey Sanders before Trey Sanders kept getting hurt, who I loved coming into his freshman year at Alabama. We haven't really seen him. But what do you think of my new love, Trevion Henderson, coming to Ohio State?
If he's your love, he's my love too. He is fantastic. He is a special player. I mean, he can catch passes. So he actually played slot wide receiver his freshman year and then part of his sophomore year. And at one time was recruited as a wide receiver. So, he can play the position. I have no doubt in his pass catching ability. I think he can do it. I think he can do it far better than most running backs. I mean, maybe he's not like a wide receiver itself, but he's phenomenal. He has great track numbers as well. I mean, his speed, his second level speed is fantastic. You were mentioning earlier, he makes quick cuts. He has great burst. I mean, he really is a very, very special running back. He, to me, is in a tier of his own when we're talking 2024 running backs. I don't think anybody's close to him. The only question I think that he has is, will he add weight? I think so. I think he has a frame to do it. He the last I saw, he was 5'11", 195. Mm-hmm. I think he can get to 210, 215, and that's more than enough for me, especially with the position that he's playing. The only other question is, I guess, an OSU timeshare. Ohio State's got a bunch of backs, but he's too good to be put on the sidelines. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, special is the word. You just watch the tape. He kind of reminded me a little bit, and this isn't fair, but like even Bijan last year, like when you watched his tape, it was just the suddenness. And I love, that's like seriously one of my favorite ways to describe a player, because it's so descriptive, and but it's sudden. I mean, he is so quick to change direction, little pivots, and just seems to be nearly impossible, at least for whatever his competition was. I mean, it was impossible for someone to get a hand on him, even in the open field. And that leaves me with the one question I have, can he run through more than an arm tackle? I would like to think so, but I just didn't see it. And it's because no one could get a hand on him. I mean, seriously. So it's more of an unknown rather than a he doesn't have it. So I think that remains to be seen. Like you said, he is listed at 195. The big difference there between him and like Bijan Robinson, who was listed at about, I think, 6 feet 200. He's 5'11", 195. When Robinson showed up, his first number in the Texas website was 6 feet 220. So he they were either wrong on 247 or he packed on 20 pounds somehow and then was incredible last year. But at 220, big difference than at even 200. And so we'll see what Henderson does. Will he show up, and by August, will he be 205, 210, or will it take till his senior year to get that high? But like you said, I mean, I don't have a huge concern as long as by the time he weighs in at the NFL Combine, he's 210, 215, that should be just fine. But otherwise, as long as he keeps all the athleticism, I mean, yeah, he's awesome. I mean, I was just like salivating watching the film. It was very, very impressive stuff. Absolutely special. I think I tweeted he's a first round devy pick right off the bat, like now. And then Austin Devy Dietz was like, I think that might be a little strong. And then I came back and said, well, that's assuming you're in an ongoing devy. So I don't know about like a startup, your very first devy draft, if he should be first round. But if you're in an ongoing and you're like taking unrostered players, maybe assuming Bijan Robinson, Tank Bigsby are already taken, and then maybe a handful of like the Kendall Miltons of the world and things like that are already taken. But I think after Robinson and Tank Bigsby, Henderson's in the discussion to me. I mean, that's how good he is. So like putting in the context of how good is this incoming freshman? I mean, you want him on your devy team, I think, before play starts this year, because after that, he could be just impossible to acquire. So, I mean, I think that, and I think I'm not worried about a timeshare. I mean, Master Teague is whatever. I mean, really very much whatever. So I think, it may not be week one, but I think by midseason, it's Henderson's backfield and like how J.K. Dobbins, I mean, had 2,000 yards his freshman season, never stopped. And I kind of think that's what this could be.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think he is fantastic. He's in a tier of his own in this class.
I'd agree. Yeah, I would agree. All right, moving on. We both love Henderson. Do not hesitate. If you have guys you already love or whatever, go ahead and get them on your devy team. But certainly the very first guy where it's not a slam dunk, he is your next slam dunk. So I think that's where we are with him. Number 2 on the 247 list is Donovan Edwards, running back going to Michigan. I gotta say, I was not impressed. I was not at all. I mean, I was like, what about this guy is a like high 4-star second ranked running back in the country? He runs tall, long, kind of slow strides. I mean, I guess he covers a lot of ground. It just does not look like he's moving fast. I kind of thought he had like clunky movements. I watched Henderson first and then watched Edwards, and maybe that's not fair, but like he just didn't look sudden or fast really at all. The one thing I will say, he's a very good receiver. It's almost like he should be a receiver. Even his movements, his strides, the way that he moves. I mean, it's not that choppy, quick thing you want to see with a running back lightning fast. It's more of like, let me get up to speed and then make a cut and catch a ball. Like that's just more what I saw, but he played like wildcat and running back and lined up wide in high school. All that is shown on his tape. I just said, I mean, at the bottom line here on my notes, looks like a receiver more than a running back. And, that's basically what I have. I didn't see great acceleration, which you want in the short area. I'm done crapping on him. What do you think? I saw you nodding. Am I being unfair?
No, I went into Edwards and saw his comp of Alvin Kamara, and I said,
Right.
let's see before we hand him one of the most unique rushers in the league comparison. So I watched him and I said, okay, he can catch passes. He has good vision. I really do think that he understands how his line is moving and he can really maneuver between the tackles and stuff. That's not a concern. He's got good burst. He's got good acceleration. Not great, not elite, but good. He's serviceable. Alvin Kamara should be insulted by this comp, if I'm being honest. Alvin Kamara is elusive. Donovan Edwards is not elusive. Donovan Edwards likes to initiate contact. He likes contact. He will run into a guy. But when he runs into a guy, it doesn't always go well for him. He doesn't have great contact balance. He loves contact, but doesn't have great contact balance, which is such a weird dichotomy for him. Which to me is Alvin Kamara's best trait. You can hit him and he will just keep going. Kamara's just like, to me, an insulting comp. I don't see that at all. Maybe a little bit more like a DeAndre Swift comp. Kamara's just special as a runner, and I don't see that. But he's such a great pass catcher that I'm not sure how much it's going to matter. I have a lot of concerns about him, though. He was a Wildcat quarterback, like you said, in high school. So what does that mean, taking snaps as like a runner? I don't know. He did it some. It's not like he didn't do it. But I have him lower than I think most recruiting services do, because he has a lot of questions. And then that comp to Alvin Kamara, I don't see it. He doesn't have the same strengths that Kamara does.
No, I thought that was a ridiculous. I mean, even CMC for Henderson, I was like, we shouldn't be doing that to any high school kid. But it was like, I can see it. He's that good. Donovan Edwards. I mean, I probably looked at, in total about 10 running backs for today's list, or even 12, I think. And some of them we won't even talk about him, but he was one of the least impressive of any 4-star. And that's including, and maybe less impressive than some of the 3-stars I ended up looking at. Like, I don't know where this rating is coming from for him. But yeah, like you said, kind of just average film. Good. The best thing is, receiving. He can catch. But like I said, maybe he will wind up a receiver. I don't know what Michigan's going to do. He's going to have the best quarterback in the class, JJ McCarthy, throwing to him. So maybe, that'll look nice. So yeah, we don't like Donovan Edwards. I actually wouldn't really, to me, he's not even a guy I want on my devy roster. In C2C, any of these guys are in play, but like, I don't want to stash Donovan Edwards for years. At least that's for me.
Not at his cost, I don't.
Yeah. People see, that's why this is really important too. And it's even lesson for me. You've got to look at these guys, because I don't agree at all with 247's ranking. And it sounds like you don't either. I don't know who's coming up with that ranking, but this is not, you need to put your eyes on these, and what do you see is really important for all this stuff. All right. So LJ Johnson then is number 3. He recently committed, I believe, to Texas A&M. So Twitter was kind of all abuzz about LJ Johnson. So I was excited to get a look at him. And again, I wasn't terribly impressed. Very limited long speed, almost non-existent, even in high school. This guy was routinely getting caught from behind by DBs. I would say I just didn't see him pull away at all. He had a couple long runs, but he fought off defenders along the way and just kept rumbling, which brings me to, he's a load and tacklers kind of bounce off him. He's slippery. It's not always a bone crunching hit. He really just kind of like can get past guys just on like physicality. Even if he's not lowering his shoulder, he's just like, he's hard to he kind of is a brick wall running down the field. but again, like not special burst. I saw a sidestep he uses a lot. So like he'll do kind of one little elusive move, but definitely not multiple moves together. He can't string together multiple moves. He's not super creative. Basically, I see a chunk gainer at the next level if he has good blocking, but I'm not sure I see any breakaway. And I didn't see any receiving. That doesn't mean he can't. I just didn't really see it on his tape. So again, I was not super impressed. Looks like a quality running back, but I'm not sure I see anything I'm excited about.
Yeah, I agree. He was timed apparently at 4.42 which shocked the world. Apparently, I couldn't believe it. I heard Boz talk about it. He couldn't believe it.
There's no way.
So he ran it in track. So he is fast at some point. I don't know where he's fast, but he is fast. That was shocking to me, and I don't see it at all. Like you said, he gets caught from behind all the time. Maybe his pads weigh him down. I don't know. Someone's putting lead in his pads. Could be. I don't see it. I don't see that speed. I do think he's a little more explosive, maybe, than you're giving him credit for. But he's explosive because I think he only needs one move. But when you need him to string together multiple moves, I don't think he can do it. And so we're on the same page in that aspect. I don't see him as a shifty guy. He's fat. I think fast. He was fast on track. I think he's fast. Maybe.
He just doesn't look it. I mean, yeah.
But he doesn't have any wiggle to his game. He's not athletic. I don't think he's athletic. I don't think he's an athletic guy. And I think he is relying a lot, like you said, on certain aspects of his like running style that aren't really going to translate to college, and add on to that he doesn't catch passes. I don't know if he can do it. I mean, college is different, and then the NFL is different, and then high school is very different. So I don't know how to translate the high school catching to college catching, but I don't think he can do it. Or if he can do it, he hasn't shown he can do it. So he's a guy I am much lower on. I don't see it with him. I wish I did, because I think he could be a good player, but that Jonathan Stewart comp too that I've seen. I mean, Jonathan Stewart is like twice as athletic as he is. Like that's not fair, Jonathan Stewart. And Jonathan Stewart is just a guy. I mean, he had a couple great seasons, and he's a good running back, but he's nothing special.
He was a timeshare with D'Angelo Williams. Like, I mean, he was never a true workhorse, really. So, yeah, I just, the best thing I could say, I thought he was pretty smooth for a bigger guy. He's not even that big, though. I mean, he's like 207 right now. He'll probably wind up 220 plus by the time his college career's done. But he's not like now 220 or 230, but that's what he looks like. When you watch him, you're like, oh, this guy's gonna be 230 pounds. He's 207. I mean, he's not even that huge. I kind of, when you were talking about him, Ramondre Stevenson came to mind, who's currently relevant because he's going to be in this draft class, but like big and just generally sluggish though, like, and can do one move and occasionally look smooth, but then can't do multiple things. So yeah, I wasn't that excited. I thought with all the Twitter hype after he signed with Texas A&M, and everyone's like, oh, they have Spiller and Achane or whatever his name is, and LJ Johnson. I'm like, okay, he's going to be awesome. And I was not super excited for him. Next on the list, he should be higher. I would put this next guy at least number 2 of the guys we've talked about right now, and maybe number 2 no matter what. Will Shipley, out of North Carolina. He's going to be going to Clemson. And literally my notes just say, yeah. It's just like, you watch it just like, yeah, he's got it. I mean, he's got it. He's got whatever you want it to be. He's super smooth, super fluid, is never really running in a straight line. Like he's always kind of making a move, creating leverage somehow, creating space on the field somehow. He just he can he can catch, he's 5'11", currently listed I think at like 199. So I mean he's already right about 200 pounds if he puts on another 10 to 15, similar to Henderson. He reminded me of Henderson, not quite as I guess lightning with his movements, the way that I feel like Henderson is just like, he's just like a spark plug all the time. Shipley a little bit more smooth with his transitions and stuff, but like you never notice he's changing gear because it's so smooth. And then all of a sudden he's past a guy. Really fluid. I mean, sometimes I don't even know what people are talking about when they describe players as fluid, but like when you watch Shipley, that's what comes to my mind. So yeah, that's the note right there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's my RB2 as well. He is a very well-rounded player. He has very good speed. I think he was timing the high 4.4s, which is good for a guy his size, especially out of high school.
Yeah.
He's a great pass catcher. He has very good long speed, so he doesn't really get caught from behind very often. I didn't see that on his tape at all. My only concern with him is that I don't think he's a very instinctual runner. He seems like somebody who hesitates a little bit with his vision, but he needs to maybe be in an offense that gives him, or around coaches that need to give him like the feel for the position a little bit. But yeah, I mean, he's my RB2. I think he is almost there in terms of a very well-rounded back and a guy who's going to contribute to the next level. Like he is in a tier of his own at number 2. It's him, it's Henderson, him, a lot of others. He has the skills that it takes, and I think Clemson is a great place for him to immediately step in and contribute, immediately get the coaching that he needs to round out parts of his game that are a little rough on the edges. But I'm a big fan of Shipley. I think he could really succeed in the next level.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right in terms of when you just watch these guys. I don't understand how an analyst for Rivals or 247 or whatever can watch these guys and not have Shipley ahead of the two we just talked about. Like, it's not possible. Yet here we are. Yeah, I mean, and going to Clemson, like you said, interestingly as well. I mean, if he's not super instinctual, Clemson, I don't think you need to be a great diagnostician, if you will, behind the line because of all their other weapons, and DJU is going to be there. You know, the running game is probably going to be an afterthought for the defense. They've got to stop DJU. They've got to stop their receivers. So, you know, he will benefit from probably lesser boxes. They're not going to be crowding the line. And probably big holes that he can then utilize his athleticism that's very clearly there. So, but hopefully he can learn, because I think you're right. I mean, he may be a couple ticks away from legit NFL, you know, star upside type thing. But yeah, I mean, it's there. You watch it, you're just like, yep, that's it. That's what it looks like. So, yeah, really like Will Shipley. Then we have Kamar Wheaton, who signed with Bama, and that alone makes you interested, right? Running back at Alabama, I will circle that name. But I like Jace McClellan better, who's currently on the roster. And people, I've really only heard one person talk about Wheaton, and what they said was he's like a track star. I did see good long speed. I'm not sure I saw I think the first couple plays I wrote down blazing speed, and then as the tape went on, I saw less of it. So I don't know. So I wrote down inconsistent. Like, I just didn't see it every time. Like, when he got into the open field and hit the sideline, I didn't see it every time just pulling away the way that Henderson did. Like long runs, but then does get an angle that caught him, or some DB or something like that. I feel like sometimes he didn't quite hit that next level speed that I saw on a couple runs where it did seem like legit, like hyper speed. And then sometimes didn't quite get there. I saw sudden bursts, some cuts, I saw some wasted movement is what I wrote down. Like flailing arms is what I described. I mean, just didn't seem compact in his movements. Kind of a little bit, I guess you could say, out of control, maybe out of balance. Um, I wrote down, is he a faster Donovan Edwards? Like just not super coordinated, but just faster. So anyway, that those were some of my notes.
Yeah, I don't like Wheaton. um, no, that's mean. I don't have him ranked as high as
Cold shower, Chris Moxley.
I know. I gotta be a little nicer to these guys. They're high schoolers. No, but I mean, I don't see it with him and everybody that I've talked to and heard an opinion of Wheaton. They're all on the same page. They nobody really understands why he's ranked so highly. His comp is Ronald Jones. I kind of feel that. I understand where that's coming from. He's quick. He can get separation with his burst. He will hit the hole quick, and if he does that and he gets a lane, he can house it. I think that's a very big plus of his game. But he relies way too much on his athleticism, right? He really needs to improve his technique in multiple areas to really be an effective runner. What I wrote down was that speed masks his inabilities. And I think that's true. I just don't see him succeeding in the next level until he really becomes a better, well-rounded running back. I mean, his production in high school was not good, especially compared to what you expect out of an SEC running back or even a running back in general, to be honest. I mean, he was under 7 yards per carry. Like, that's brutal, regardless of who you are, where you are. You can't put up like sub 7 yards per carry in high school and be an SEC running back. And I'm not a yards per carry guy, but knowing what it takes, I have a lot of questions about Carney, and he is not a guy I will be drafting, especially where he's going.
Oh yeah, I mean, because people are going to see Bama running back and just, I mean, he's going to probably be a lot of people's like 2, I would imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was on the same page with you. I think McClellan's better. I think Brian Robinson's going to start over him. I mean, at best, he probably comes in the next year as the 2, but I don't see it with him. I don't think he has it. I think he's a very specialist running back.
Yeah, and that's a nice nugget there for myself and our listeners about kind of that threshold maybe for a yards per carry, because I agree that yards per carry is not perfect, but it does give you a baseline to kind of gauge multiple people against each other. And so in high school, you're going to be looking for at least 7 or 8 yards per carry. So that's a nice nugget. Thank you for that. So I think that rounds out the top 5, at least based on the 247 composite. I'll be honest, there's only 2 that really jumped for me. I think we both agree. It's Henderson and Shipley, and the rest kind of whatever, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not even excited about them. But then so the next guy I picked. So now I have a couple of names that are interesting simply because their depth chart should open up some opportunity right away. And when you're talking about a freshman who can come in and compete, these are the guys like we were talking in the first show. If a running back comes in and basically is the starter as a freshman, regardless of what you think of his NFL potential, that stock is way up, especially for a Power 5 team. You can flip that guy. You can keep him and see if he turns into a high draft pick, whatever. But any of these guys, you need to look for thin depth charts and 4-star guys or so, because they're high enough and they could come in and just immediately play. So that's what I was kind of looking for, is depth charts and then lower rated guys going to a team that, there's no reason they can't compete right away. Armani Goodwin, who's still pretty highly rated, he's up there going to LSU, and LSU's backfield is a disaster. I mean, absolute disaster. They've got quality players based on their recruiting ranking, but at this point, I'm done with John Emery. I'm done with Davis Price. Chris Curry was a never was. Yeah, I mean, I think they don't. Nobody is impressing in that backfield at all. So I went to look at Armani Goodwin. The tape is pretty nice. He's a smaller guy. I think he's 5'8", 190, something like that. I thought he was explosive, and he makes short, choppy steps. So he's one of these guys that like looks like he's running very fast, at all times. Decisive, good acceleration. I did think he had long speed. You don't think so?
No, no.
These are the things I kind of saw, but I don't know about his comp or anything like that. He's definitely shorter and smaller, so I doubt he has feature back upside. But I thought, he's a guy that can come in, I think, and probably get quality snaps for LSU right away.
Yeah, I had the same notes you did, right? Like, he's a guy that should be pretty fast. He has high end speed, but he also, I mean, when he gets to the second level, like he's not really separating a whole lot, and that I was surprised by that. I think he is an interesting player because I think he has good contact balance. He's small. I mean, he's probably going to put on a good bit of weight. I mean, he's 5'8", so he has low pad level, and he can, he kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but he's small. Like, he's 5'8". I mean,
he looks kind of small.
A plus. I think that's something to really look at. I don't think he can catch passes either. So he's going to be maybe like try to be the bowling ball type guy, but he's also not that big. 5'8", 190 is not huge. I think he kind of is like a tweener almost with his size. I've seen him comp to Darrell Henderson. I actually think that's a fairly good comp. A couple of years ago, the LSU folks were comping him to Raheem Mostert, and I thought that was interesting as well. I think he does have that kind of speed, but I mean, he has to play in a system that really accentuates his strength to get there. I don't really see it, but I mean, he's got a couple nice skills. I think he's good in like short areas, and like he can make cuts well, and he's elusive in like the small areas. I don't know. I'm not his biggest fan, but I also don't. I'm open to the upside that he possibly has if he puts on a little more weight and maybe keeps that elusiveness.
Yeah, and maybe he shows us he can catch passes, because who knows what his college or his high school system was like or whatever. So, I mean, I think that's oftentimes an unknown coming out of high school, at least. Who knows what kind of quarterback they had, what kind of offense they were running. Unless you have full game tape and you saw him drop a bunch of passes, I don't know. But I didn't see him catching passes. I think sometimes you don't know if that means he absolutely cannot. But yeah, you're right. If he can't, then you're looking at like Devin Singletary or Henderson Singletary, the short guys. Maybe they get to 205, 207 by the time they're going to the NFL. But if they can't get passes, now you're talking about, a 2-down profile, but too small to be a 2-down profile. So it's kind of, like a tweener. So we'll see. I do think there's room for somebody to come in at LSU and do something, because so far it's been trash for the last 2 years, basically. Well, no, I guess CEH, but this year was bad, and behind CEH was bad before. So, all right. Not super exciting, but potential opportunity. And I think, depending on how far a guy like that may fall in a draft, if you find yourself in a spot and he's there, I think taking it based on the depth chart and seeing if that stock can rise. Maybe if you don't believe in him, you flip him. But it's not a bad bet if he becomes, fairly inexpensive to acquire in a draft. Trevion Cooley is you're nodding your head. You and Austin are on the same page on so many of these guys. But I know Austin is a big fan. I was telling him today I was going to look at the film, and he was very interested to see what I thought of him. I'm going to give you the floor. Actually, I probably should have done this previously, but I want you to talk about him first, and then I'll chime in.
I really like him. I think he's awesome. I saw you talking about him today, and I was like, well, I got it. I'm going to keep it kind of on the low so that I can talk about Cooley here. But I think he's got it. He's rated way too low in the on 24/7. I mean, he should be 10 spots higher. If he gets to the second level, he's gone. He has great contact balance. He's a tackle breaker. He has requisite size. He's 5'11", 208. He's fast. He's 4.4 speed. I've heard Austin talk about his lateral agility. Like, he definitely is quick. He really, really has so many skills that you want in a feature back. The only question that I have is he opens himself up to contact a lot. Like, he gets hit all the time. I see him get hit all the time. I'm like, dude, avoid this tackle. Like, you could do
it. He wants it, dude. He wants it.
He wants it, but he exposed himself to contact all the time, and that is not a sustainable running style. So maybe it's something that LSU just says, dude, you got to avoid this, get it out of your system, stop trying to initiate contact or whatever. But that is my concern with Cooley. Otherwise, I'm high on him. He's in my top 8. I just can't keep him out of there. Ever since Austin introduced him to me, I've just been enamored with his play style. I think he is a phenomenal recruit. I think he's way too low.
Yeah, totally. Austin found a guy here. I mean, we've talked about Austin so much. I guess I'm going to need to get him on the show because people are like, who is this Austin who's pulling the strings behind WWTS? But no, he's a smart guy. He found a diamond in the rough here, I think. Really did. I have on here, will seek contact. He wants to hit you, which, is maybe unsustainable from an injury perspective, but I love that at a running back. But he's not just that. He's not a slogger. I agree with everything you said. So instead of rehashing it all, I will just say I agree with you. And what I put in my head, I said, and this is maybe not fair, but I said Nick Chubb-ish. Like, I feel like the body size, the smooth running style at his size, the juice that he has. Chubb isn't as aggressive, but like in terms of tackle breaking ability and being a bigger guy who can still get to the end zone on a long run. I mean, he's what we want LJ Johnson to be. He is the big, tough running back that can also go to the house. And LJ Johnson should be where Cooley is. Cooley should be where LJ Johnson is. That's what I think.
Yeah, love Cooley.
Yeah. Very, very nice. And again, Louisville depth chart wide open, I think, day one type stuff for Cooley. So that is stock that could skyrocket by week 3, even, I think, next year. I'm going to give it to you again. I'm going to give you the name. You tell me first. I'm a bad host. I should have been letting you do this before. But Kamaro Edwards going to UNC, picked him out simply because it's UNC. They're bringing in Ty Chandler. I think nobody else. They obviously lost to fairly exciting draft picks who have dominated the work for the last 2 years. That depth chart looks pretty good. I flipped on the tape. But before I say what I think, what do you think of Kamaro Edwards?
So he's in my neighborhood. He's a North Carolina guy.
Yes.
He is okay. So my note under him, the first thing I said is he's fine. I see him get caught from behind a lot. I think the second note I have is he has C2C upside, not NFL upside. He's going to play the Javonte Williams role, which is great. Chandler will play the Michael Carter role, which is great. He's good, not an elite pass catcher. He's kind of a hill guy. He's a guy that will go north to south, do it that way. I think he has good contact balance. I'm not sure it's great, but for a guy his size, it probably needs to be better. He is a little bit elusive for his size, but I'm not sure he is elusive enough. He's a guy to me with a lot of C2C upside, but not a lot of pro upside. I don't see him as a prolific NFL back or a guy who's really going to crack it in more than a timeshare, but I think he's a guy who can step into UNC knowing that Howell's going to be there, know that May's going to be there, and really excel in that offense because they have space for a guy who plays like Javonte to come in. So I like him in that aspect, but I don't think he's anything super special. He has a couple issues for me that I don't think are going to play in the NFL.
Some fatal flaws, huh? Well, yeah, I mean, I actually I came across a little bit more impressed, I think, than you. I have in all caps here jump cuts because he's 227 and I see him just kind of like hopping around the field. I thought he was fairly elusive. That's like his one big move that he will pull out of his back pocket on pretty routinely and get away from guys by doing these pretty kind of dramatic like jump cuts. I thought even down the field, he'll do that. I thought that was kind of interesting for a guy his size. Like I didn't expect it. And it was kind of like, oh, that's neat. I'm glad he can do that. I thought his long speed was pretty good. Maybe we just didn't see the same games or something, but I had him marked down as like long speed's good enough, especially for a guy who's coming in at 227. I mean, he's a big guy. Much more long speed than LJ Johnson, who's 15 pounds less. Sorry, I'm just killing LJ Johnson.
You're not wrong.
I do think his change of direction was less than ideal. I mean, unless he's doing a jump cut, like plant cuts weren't very good. He kind of took 2 or 3 steps to stop and then make a cut there. I thought on a couple of plays, and I came across. I won't comp everybody, but like if a guy comes to my mind, I might as well just say it because I think it helps people kind of put just a model in their head of what a guy looks like if they're not looking through the film and stuff. I don't know. His running style, watching him on the tape, I was like, that reminds me of Carlos Williams. I don't know if you remember him. He played for FSU. He played for the Bills. He had a nice year, kind of half year, and then got into some off the field stuff and never came back around. But he was a big 225-pound dude who ran like violent. And I feel like Edwards was it wasn't violent in the way that he wants to initiate contact, but it was violent movements. I mean, just like very fast, lightning quick, those jump cuts again. And that I just remember Carlos Williams, that just kind of came to my mind. And Williams was very great for a flash. And I think if he wouldn't have I think he really had some mental stuff or something. So if he would have stayed with it, I think he could have been quite good for an NFL team even. So I liked him, especially I think he, like you said, I mean, he's going to be set up for success. I think, in C2C, you can expect some contribution next year. Maybe not the NFL upside, but I kind of saw something there. I thought I was pretty interested in Kamaro. I guess it's Edmonds, not Edwards. I think I keep saying Edwards, but anyway, next guy on the list, simply because of where he's going, you've got Devin Neal headed to Kansas with Puka Williams gone. I mean, I think like you or me could maybe see some carries for Kansas because it's freaking Kansas. So, simply because of the depth chart, I was like, well, this guy's a 4-star going to Kansas. I mean, he probably will play right away. I liked the film. I won't go into detail. I want to give you the floor first, but have you looked at Devin Neal? What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We could probably start for Kansas. Well, not start. I mean, we could get carries.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm bigger than Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
And so the running backs in the state of Kansas are not very large. So I think we could probably start on multiple teams. I'm just saying. But that's a wide open depth chart, right? There's nobody there really. He has good tape, but the only thing I wrote down for him was I have no clue if he's good. His competition stinks. I have no idea. He's a guy that into Kansas. Be the only guy there.
High school football is like.
Yeah, I have no idea. He's the only guy at Kansas, and he will have the backfield to himself. I don't know. I mean, could we get carries there? Yeah. Could we get carries at Kansas State? Yeah. Could we get carries at other Kansas universities? Probably. I don't know if he's good. That's my bottom line. I think his tape looks good, but he's also in Kansas.
That's fair. Is Les Miles still at Kansas? Is he the coach there?
Yeah, I think so.
That was a pretty big recruiting get. I mean, Devin Neal is a full-on 4-star, like not even at the bottom of the barrel 4-star. Like he's a legit 4-star ranking. And I was like, Kansas? Like, how did this happen? But yeah, I mean, he's from Lawrence. I actually don't know where that is in relation to where the University of Kansas is, but
Same city,
um,
right? I think.
is it? Are they both? So maybe he's like, yeah, maybe he's like hometown guy, and just wants to stay. I know he's a baseball player. I think he's fairly good. He's gonna play both sports. From what I read a little bit, like there's not a lot of camp information on him. So maybe he was playing baseball, not going to the camps, and so therefore he wasn't nearly as highly rated as a recruit as he might have been if he was hitting all the Nike Elite camps and all this stuff. Um, and he wants to play baseball, so maybe Kansas promised him, you can play baseball also. But oh my gosh, I mean, the tape is really impressive to me. He's like 5'10", 5'11", 208 already. So I mean, great size. If he puts on 10 pounds, he's pushing 220. So like Jerry and Ely, but plus 20 pounds. Just saying that because of baseball stuff. But he is a legit receiver. I mean, his first play on his junior tape, I think, is like him mossing a guy on the sideline, jumping up over a defender to catch a pass. He had another toe tap on the sideline catch. I saw like a legit receiver, I think. He was 29 for 516 as a junior through the air, in addition to like 1,700 yards on the ground. I thought he had long speed. I thought he had patience and burst. I thought he could set up his blocking. I mean, there's multiple plays I saw where he's kind of tiptoeing behind the line until the blockers got set up and then kind of exploding through a hole. I was very impressed. Like you said, though, I mean, maybe it's the competition being atrocious. I don't know what middle of Kansas high school football is like. But I just thought, even if you take away the stats, if you take away the fact that maybe like I didn't see him, it wasn't even like beating guys to the corner. It wasn't even him breaking tackles. I just thought his movements were very, very fluid. I thought he was super slick. I thought he had just looked like an excellent athlete to me. Now, maybe it was in the context of everyone else around him being terrible athlete, but I was really impressed. I was like, what is this guy doing? First of all, going to Kansas. Second of all, being like, he's not way down the list, but I mean, I think he's outside the top 10. And he, to me, was like looked better than LJ Johnson, looked better than Demario Edwards or Donovan Edwards. I'm sorry. But I was just like, I really like this guy. And if you're telling me he's going to get the keys to the backfield from day one at Kansas, I mean, I want actually a piece of him. I want a piece of Devin Neal. What if he explodes? What if, I'm kind of a believer in, I get the competition argument, and the lower you go, high school versus college versus obviously NFL, the lower you go, the more it can really, really mask inefficiencies, obviously. But I'm kind of a believer, like when you dominate, you're just good. Like, what else do you want him to do? I mean, he had like, what is it, 500 yards plus, he had like 2,400 yards, as a junior. I mean, what do you want? 4,000 yards like Derrick Henry? I mean, Derrick Henry's freaking unicorn. I don't know. I was like, he just did it. He's really, really good regardless of competition. And he looked good. It didn't look like cheap yards. So like there was one move, just kind of a run up the middle. Linebacker fills the hole. And it's nice because whatever the camera was actually kind of that all 22 from behind the defense. And like he takes a cut and just like the linebacker just flies off his feet, and then he cuts back up and then boom, straight to the end zone for like 15 yards. But he had a one-on-one. That guy never had a chance. Now he's probably terrible, but like he just never had a chance. Even if he's a good linebacker, I bet he breaks that tackle. But this kid never had a shot. But that movement to me was special movement, even if it was against bad competition. So I was very impressed. And I think just kind of one of those like odds plays, like get him on your devy team, maybe in the later rounds. I don't think you have to spend a high pick on him. But if you have a devy rounds that go more than 5 rounds, if you have a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 round devy roster, I'd want him on my team because he could be the talk of the Big 12 next year.
I think that he has upside to smash. So My concern has always been, what if his competition sucks and he just is
Crumbles.
fighting against bad competition? But what if he's not? And if he's not, then you have a very, very high upside running back on your roster. I'm in agreement. I think he is worth getting on your team, seeing what he does, because he's going to have the keys to, like you said, he's got the keys to the backfield himself. There's no way he doesn't. So he's worth the upside play. At worst, you get a prolific producer in college, and
I think that's probably fair. I mean, in the Big 12, a lot of people can produce.
yeah.
But like he could be like a Brees Hall. I mean, Brees Hall was a 4-star. I don't know what his high school tape looked like because I wasn't even really looking at high school tape back in when he was pre his freshman season. Goes to Iowa State. All of a sudden, after year one, boom, he's a starter. He's dominating. He's rising up everyone's list because he went to Iowa State. And you know, they didn't have a depth chart. But it is a Power 5 team. It's Kansas. I mean, they're barely Power 5. They probably should be in a G5 conference. They are so bad.
Yeah. They got Quadarius Davis too at wide receiver. They're getting a couple high recruits.
Yeah, well, Les Miles, I guess, working some magic eating that grass. I'm excited about Neal. And you know, I think because he's going to Kansas, like he's gonna be around in your drafts. I mean, if you have he's probably not even top 5 devy rounds. I mean, you're probably gonna need a deeper devy roster, but in C2C, oh yeah. I mean, he's gonna be around. Just scoop him up, after the top guys are gone and you don't have anyone you love in, just probably going to need to like keyword search Devin Neal because he's going to be buried and just pick him up.
And he'll produce for C2C roster. Regardless of his NFL potential, he'll produce. He's got the backfield to himself.
And then, the way I play too, and I think this is a philosophical thing, but the way I play is I know that I don't know, right? So, it's kind of like looking at all these puzzle pieces, and the only piece we're missing with Devin Neal to me is his high school competition. We don't know. We assume it's trash. It probably is trash, but he could still be smoking them because he's good, not because they're trashy. And so I know I don't know everything. And so it's one of those, like, it's not going to be a high cost acquisition. And like you said, if it pops, you're probably going to know right away. And it's going to be a big, big value rise. And then you can flip him if you really don't believe in him. But if he starts popping, I mean, you're talking about Big 12. You're talking about Power 5. I mean, he is going to be noticed if he's really good. I mean, Puka Williams was on a lot of people's lists. The only thing is he's 175 pounds. I think eventually people are like, okay, he's not gaining weight. It's not going to happen. But like after his freshman season, he was on people's lists. So I'm interested, and I think the cost is just not going to be prohibitive. And I think I'm just going to want him on as many teams as I can at the price he's going to be. Because I was super impressed. And then Cody Brown. I'm just going to talk about Cody Brown, and I know you have a counterpoint to Cody Brown. He will be going to Tennessee. I picked him because Tennessee is gutted. Eric Gray transferred. Ty Chandler transferred. They didn't even graduate these guys. They're just wanting out of Knoxville. The whole program could be in shambles. We don't know what's happening to Harrison Bailey. There's going to be carries. Someone's going to have to carry the ball. I don't know who's going to hand it off to him, but somebody's going to carry the ball. So Cody Brown was the highest rated running back they have. He's a 4-star. I smelled Jalen Hurd. He's kind of a big guy. I know it's lazy. Jalen Hurd went to Tennessee. But just, he kind of looks like a gazelle out there, not in a good way. Maybe a giraffe is a better. He's just long. He's thick and long and a big strider. Some burst, limited long speed, not a lot of wiggle. I mean, and that's basically what I remember Jalen Hurd. I mean, I don't know why Jalen Hurd was so good. And he kind of put up numbers, but he was never super efficient. They just gave him like 300 carries. He just was never that impressive to me. So Cody Brown to me is, again, not impressive. Big guy. Maybe he gets volume in year one because they have nobody else, but worth noting, I suppose, at least for C2C, because I don't know who's going to be back there for him, but I wasn't super impressed with the athleticism.
No, he's not athletic. He's a bad athlete. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's not athletic.
We need hard takes here.
Yeah, he's a bad athlete. He's not explosive. He has no burst. He is just a large man who bullied high schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what he is. Cody Brown is not the running back tone in Tennessee. So Boz introduced me to this guy. Jalen Wright is the guy to own in Tennessee. He's the one. 5'11", 200. He ran 4.28. He has 4.28 speed.
Woo!
He can add a little bit of size. He may be 5-10 pounds. I don't think he's going to add a ton without sacrificing his speed. Maybe he gets up to 215. We'll see. Great speed. He's super explosive. He's a smart runner. He knows how to run the ball. Tennessee coaches said, we want to use you like we want to use Devonta Freeman, like we want to use Dalvin Cook. We want to get you involved in the outside zone. We want to get you involved in the screen game. We want to get you involved in a whole bunch of different ways. He is the guy to own in Tennessee. He is, I think, 33rd in 24/7. He's very low, but he is explosive. He's going to have the requisite size. He is a far, far better athlete than Cody Brown. He is, I think, the guy that I'm going to plant my flag on in this class as much, much better than where his Rivals rank is, where his 24/7 rank is. I actually think he's much higher on Rivals than he is 24/7. I think they've kind of caught up to the guy that he is. He's going to smash. That depth chart is wide open after Chandler transferred, after Gray transferred. He is the guy to own. Cody Brown is fool's gold.
Well, I definitely agree. Cody Brown's fool's gold. I have not put eyes on Jalen Wright just yet, but I'm definitely going to have to do that. I mean, if you're telling me he's even close to 200 pounds and running and even can kind of run under 4.4, I mean, that alone is going to get you noticed. Great insight there. Love that. So because that, I mean, there's room immediately. So let's figure out the Tennessee backfield. And Chris Moxley is in on Jalen Wright via Boz, who's a very smart guy. Actually, Boz will be on the second half of this installment talking about wide receivers and tight ends. I'm pretty sure if he recovers from his ankle injury or ankle surgery, I think he had this week. But Boz is going to be on here. He's a very, he's very in tune to the rising freshman. And so that is a good word there. Love that call for Jalen Wright. And I'm going to just throw in a super bonus 3-star guy that I really like. So you have to go way down the list to 3-star. So we're going to give you 2 3-stars to keep your eye on because, Jalen Wright, at least on 247, is a 3-star. And this is going to be Colby McDonald for Maryland. Again, I kind of was just, you can't watch tape of everybody. There's too many players. So I kind of cherry picked guys on depth charts again that I think, hey, if this guy's got something, it could pop like I did with Sean Tucker last year going to Syracuse. There's nobody at Syracuse. And sure enough, Sean Tucker looked okay. And then he was actually good in his freshman season. So, I mean, this is that kind of thing. I think that's how you need to sometimes think about these things. Don't necessarily look at the player, look at the opportunity. Once you get past a certain star level, I mean, you want a guy who's got a chance. But anyway, so the Maryland backfield, not the Jake Funk was kind of their guy this year. He's gone. And so then I think it's a little bit open, at least for a timeshare, anybody to come in. But, I don't know if there's any super impressive guy. So if anybody comes in and is better, I think he can be the star right away. This guy, McDonald, is a thick hoss. His legs are huge. I mean, I think he's like 5'8" or 9. Pushing around 200. I mean, his numbers don't look huge, but like his legs are massive. So he's got a nice frame, carries his weight low. That's what you want in a running back. I saw long speed. I saw shiftiness and pretty good tackle breaking ability with those tree trunks for legs. So didn't really see any pass catching. Again, I think in high school, it's hard. Like that doesn't mean he can't. Their system may not have thrown it. Some high school teams don't even throw the ball. So we just may not quite know. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed as a 3-star guy. I went through a bunch of 3-star tape today, and there was a handful that I was like, "Ooh, I don't know why he's a 3-star." And then a lot of them, you're like, "Oh yeah, he's a 3-star." Oh yeah, there's nothing there. But I thought he showed some nice skills, and then just the body frame. I think he can put up solid weight without losing the skill set that he has. And so I think he could, get up there in weight and be kind of a bowling ball. And, I don't think there's anybody on Maryland right now that's super impressive. So he might even be the main back by midseason next year for Maryland. And I trust Mike Locksley too. I think he's a good recruiter. He was always a good recruiter at Alabama. He has brought in, Baby Tua. He has brought in Raheem Jarrett. And so I think, Maryland has pulled some good recruiting. I think he's got an eye for recruiting. And, I don't know how good of an actual like X's and O's coach he is, but I think he knows how to spot athletes. And so I kind of am interested there in Colby McDonald. So keep that name circled. And Moxley gave you Jalen Wright, a 3-star for Tennessee. And that wraps up the running backs. Unless you have anybody else, I'll shoot it over to you.
One guy I would say just keep an eye on is Evan Pryor out of Ohio State. He's going to be behind Trevion Henderson, but he's got a great 3-down skill set. I would say keep him in the back of your mind. Maybe snag him late in a C2C draft. He's going to struggle for carries in the first year or two, but he's a guy I kind of like in this class.
I just wish these guys would go to places like where they're not going to sit behind studs. Like, why is Georgia still being able to recruit running backs? Like, just stop going to Georgia. Kenny McIntosh would be a stud somewhere else. Like, I love that guy. I think it's Kenny McIntosh. Is that right? It's McIntosh.
Yeah.
I think he's so good, but like Zamir White's pretty good for a college running back, and he's got seniority. Kendall Milton's awesome, but he can't get on the field. There's just like 4 other guys. James Cook could be a probably a 300 touch guy somewhere else. Like, stop going to the same school. Rant over.
I'm with you.
Okay, you're a South Carolina fan, right? Like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't some of these guys go to South Carolina? Like, it's still the South. I just go somewhere you can start right away. I guess Marshawn Lloyd did, and he got injured, but he was a high recruit that went to South Carolina. But I don't understand why guys aren't going to. There's plenty of other schools you can go to. You're going to be discovered. You're not going to be forgotten. Just go to a Power 5 team. You don't have to go to Georgia and Ohio State.
A very high percentage of draft picks come from those specific schools. So they're betting on themselves. And that's a good argument that, we don't need, we could get 200 collegiate touches and excel at the next level. Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. I mean, that is probably what they're selling them. That's probably what they're selling them on the visit. You don't even have to be a super stud. And it hurts our metrics, because then you don't get the production and you're trying to guess. And I always say though, too, I don't know. I don't care what your room looks like, your position room, the studs. I mean, we're trying to project for the elite of the elite at the next level. Every receiver room in the NFL is excellent. So I don't care what you're saying about the Bama or the Ohio State receiving room. Like, the NFL receiving room they're going to go to is even better than that. Because they're cherry picking the guys from those schools anyway. And so I don't know. It's just if you're still not producing, I don't buy the competition argument. So I'd rather see these guys go and produce somewhere, because I don't like giving benefit of the doubt to guys that sit, even if it's on a good roster.
No, I wish they would go somewhere and produce. The guys go to Alabama. You just gotta accept they're going to sit for a year. It makes life hell for us guys.
We're important.
Yeah, when will they start worrying about the nerds?
Yeah, I know. Well, so be it. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. We spent a lot of time together tonight, but this was a blast going through. This was so fun for me, especially getting into the recruiting tape and stuff, like really remembering what it was like back in like high school. I used to get all into this so much, and I'm glad to be back looking at these, the next players. It's always fun to see the next batch, like who's coming in, who's going to pop, who's going to be next year's Bijan Robinson, and all that kind of stuff. But anything, I mean, I think you should try to, I don't know what kind of time you have on your hand. I know you got to tend to your peppers, but I would love to see you get into maybe like formal analysis, writing up some stuff, sharing your good mind with the rest of us instead of just a couple tweets here and there.
Oh, my mind is focused on memes and sarcasm. So,
well, we all
need dedicated to gardening. So we'll see.
There's a place for you in the world for sure. That you don't have to write the sophisticated article. We'll take your memes. We'll take your sarcasm. But hey, if you're listening to this, you should follow Chris Moxley anyway on Twitter. It's Chris Moxley 19. He definitely provides a lot of insight, even if he's not necessarily a writer or whatever. I mean, I consider him a good mind in the devy space. So we really appreciate you coming on. Well, I mean, I say we a lot with this show, but it's really just me. Yeah, thanks for coming on. And I'd love to get in a league with you sometime soon. Maybe we'll have to set that up.
Yeah, no, I'd be excited to. Yeah, thank you for having me. I love the show, and I'm happy to be on.
Very good. All right. So those are your the other episode QBs, and we just went over running backs. That's for the 2024 class. So these are going to be rising freshmen, but do not sleep on these guys because we saw about 5 or 6 of them last year just blow up, and now they're very, very valuable. So do not count out incoming freshmen, especially at the running back position, I would say. And until next time, we're signing off. This has been Why Wait Till Sunday. We'll see you next time.